Get a pulse of the Grand Strand from one who gets a bird's eye view each week. Coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Fox 43 studio. We're focused on resort tourism and local columns, and we're visiting with Dr. Taylor Damonte, a columnist and the head of the Resort Tourism Department at Coastal Carolina University here in Conway, South Carolina. Good morning, Dr. Damonte.
Good morning. How are you?
And I don't think I hit it right on the head. It's a big title there of the program, not only that you head up, but also the special center there at Coastal Carolina University.
Right, the Britton Center for Resort Tourism.
Yes, there we are. It sounds better coming out of your mouth.
Okay.
The Britton Center for Resort Tourism.
Right.
How long have you been there, Dr. Damonte?
I have been at Coastal since '98, and we started the Resort Tourism Management Program in the fall of '99. We started the Britton Center for Resort Tourism a couple of years ago, and we've been conducting this tourism economy study. It was one of the ongoing studies that we do through the Clay Britton Jr. Center for Resort Tourism.
You all have been doing that for how long now?
We have been conducting that study for over 2 years now. Actually, we've got data from back 3 years ago because of the way we collected the first year. We asked for previous year's data as well.
Right.
So we've got about 3 years of data through that study.
And critical results are coming out on a weekly basis.
Well, it's nice to be able to basically put your finger on the level of tourism demand on any given week. We track not just the hotels and condominiums, but also the rental home market. And we're adding some other sectors, lodging sectors, and other sectors of the tourism economy to that study, actually in the next few weeks. So it is nice to be able to say from week to week what the level of overall tourism demand is.
Mm-hmm. And to be able to gauge the rental home market as well, that's relatively new, isn't it?
We've been doing that for almost a year now, not quite a year, but we take a random sample of the rental homes that are available online. That is the vacation rental properties that real estate companies post online.
Right.
And we survey a small random sample of those every week. One nice aspect of that is that we're able to look at several weeks or months in some cases in advance and see what the level of demand for those properties is, because it is posted online, whereas hotels and condominiums aren't always either as forthcoming. They just don't have as good of an understanding of what their level of demand will be way out into the future all the time.
Right. You know, it is when we look at critical weeks or try to extrapolate from 1 week. I think you said this is a big week, obviously one of the last really huge weeks along the Strand. When we think about the 30-plus hotels or lodging establishments that you all may be looking at on a weekly basis, are those, when we say the Grand Strand, what are we talking about? Is that Horry and Georgetown, just Horry? Where does the Grand Strand begin?
Well, right now we're sampling just Horry County,
okay,
which basically starts at the Little River Brunswick County line,
right,
and goes down to Murrells Inlet, or just the side of Murrells Inlet. So Horry County. And we do have a sample of hotel and condominium properties both on the beach and off the beach. Our sample includes properties across the Grand Strand area. So it allows us to look at not just the hotel properties, but the other sectors of the lodging industry, condominiums and so forth.
Bed and breakfast and otherwise, correct?
Yes. And we do. That's right. We do have some bed and breakfast.
That's tremendous. Of course, when Horry County alone is such a large county, not only geographically, but to be able to tap the incredible number of rooms you have here. And of course, now, do you all use the same establishments every week, or do you have a different sampling each?
Well, we have about 30 properties that report to us on a weekly basis.
Right.
Not each week do all of the properties report, but
Sure.
on average about 30 properties are reporting. But that includes campsite properties as well as condominiums, hotels, and then in addition to that we have the rental home properties, which we survey about 80 some odd, give or take a few, rental home sites
Sure.
on a weekly
I
basis.
think I saw it was like 6.7% on, let's say, a random week in
Yes.
early July.
Yes.
What about, real quick about yourself, Dr. Damonte? Are you originally from the area?
I have lived in South Carolina since '91.
Oh, boy, you're almost
so
a
I've
local. Yeah.
lived here for a while. I was born and raised in New Orleans, which is also a well-known tourist destination. So I guess you could say I was raised in a tourism environment.
Had you studied resort tourism in high school or in college, or always thought you wanted to get into the industry?
I was a hotel, restaurant, and tourism major at the University of New Orleans in the mid-'70s, and went on from there to manage hotels and restaurants in the New Orleans and the Gulf Coast area, Gulfport, Biloxi, that area as well.
God, so you've had the practical experience of being in restaurants and in hotels, as well as now looking at it from the outside in.
Well, I did manage properties basically for about 10 years when I got out of college, before I went back into academia and went on for a graduate degree, a couple of graduate degrees.
So you had thought about actually had you thought about that as you were coming out of college, going into the workplace?
Probably not initially, but going on for a graduate education gave me the opportunity to study things from a little bit different perspective. You know, when you manage a hotel or a restaurant day in, day out,
Right.
you pretty much have to stay focused on that particular property all of the time, because it takes your attention all of the time. So it's nice to be able to step back, and that's a luxury that we in academia have, to have the time to be able to do that.
Oh yeah, to be able to study how they operate and how they can best effectuate the synergies within properties.
Yeah, I probably, at some point when I was managing a hotel property in the early 80s, it struck me that my business was as much determined by factors that were affecting it in the overall tourism environment as anything that I could do individually as a manager. I remember one day the price of fuel went from, in those dollars, in the early 1980s dollars, from about $1.50 a gallon, which we had been operating in that environment, which was hugely expensive at that time. And at the end of that time period in 82, 83, it dropped back down to a more reasonable 95 cents a gallon. And at that time I was managing a hotel property in Gulfport, Mississippi, which we'd been doing quite well because with the fuel prices skyrocketing for years before, folks didn't have the ability to go on to Orlando and beautiful destinations in Central Florida. But when the price of gas dropped, they could. And so all of a sudden the demand for our property was hurting. And so it just struck me at that time that oftentimes our individual business is impacted by factors in the broader tourism environment that we have little control over. And it's nice to be able to step back and look at those.
Oh yeah. Do you still have family in Louisiana? Do you get down there much at all? Anyone in New Orleans? Or
Occasionally.
Yeah,
Occasionally.
yeah.
They come here as well.
I'm sure that's right. You're on the coast, and they're very close to the coast. I guess New Orleans is on water, isn't it? Or
it's got water all around
Yeah.
it. There's no nice beach.
it's not like
we have
beaches.
here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But back to those the issues in the tourism environment. Those are issues that we track in the tourism economy study, and we make available to users of that project on our website, and we will be adding some of those factors to the new release of the website. We have tracked fuel prices and weather and things like that, consumer confidence, and we'll be adding those numbers to our website in the near future so that others can do that as well.
I think I saw y'all are planning on possibly tracking golf as well as even looking at other destinations outside of the area.
Right.
It'd be very exciting, I'm sure. And now y'all have partnered up with others. Is this, of course, it's Coastal Carolina University. Is the Myrtle Beach Area Hospitality Association involved, or?
Well, I started talking with the Hospitality Association, gosh, probably 6 or 7 years ago when I first moved here.
First got here.
About this sort of project. And I think during those boom years, perhaps there wasn't as much interest or perhaps as much need to be able to have a measure of overall tourism demand on a weekly basis. But a few years ago, after the events of 9/11 and the economic slowdown that subsequently occurred, more and more businesses began approaching both us and the Hospitality Association. And so the Hospitality Association helped us sort of kick the project off and stimulate interest in the work.
Help get the word out as well.
Right.
I think I saw you publishing something in the very near future in the Myrtle Beach Area Hospitality Association newsletter.
There will be an information piece about the tourism economy study and another little project that the students at the Resort Tourism Management Program at Coastal have developed, which is a
Can you
neat
share
little
with us?
project.
Yeah, the Go Coastal?
Yeah.
Not to let it out of the bag.
Sure. The students in the College of Business, actually it's open to other colleges at Coastal, have a program or a club called the Hospitality Adventure Student Organization.
Ooh, great.
And it's a fairly popular club. We have a couple of dozen members at this time. And the students were looking for an idea, a fundraising idea, and at the same time something that would help them forward their goals and their mission of learning about the hospitality and tourism industry.
Mm-hmm.
And so we developed a marketing product wherein the students will be out selling advertising space, listings, banners, and so forth, on a little website that they have created and will be actually linked to the College of Business site at Coastal. It's a www site rather than www, so it's not actually Coastal's site, but it is linked to the university site, and it's called Go Coastal.
Go Coastal, yes. So that's the www.coastal.edu/Go Coastal. Yes.
Right.
So folks could check it out easily.
That's right.
There.
Two important things about the site.
Yeah.
It's going to be administered by students in the organization, so they'll be responsible for it. And the other thing is that all the funds that they generate go for forwarding their educational activities.
Great,
so
good, and helping
go
the
to
club
fund
out.
the student club. That's right.
Fantastic. And of course, you've got some superstar. We have one of the columnists at the Herald, John Stamey, who's a professor at Coastal. I guess he's an instructor in the computer science department and doing a great job teaching web development. So I think you've probably got some good web development going on over there. Hopefully that'll be seen in the site. Again, www.coastal.edu/Go Coastal.
Correct.
Okay, well, great. Viewers should check that out.
Yes.
Viewers should check that out. You know, of course, when we think about, I think I saw you're listed as an associate professor of director of the Resort Tourism Management Program. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Resort tourism, when folks think about, let's say, the heritage corridors, or they think about tourism and the, I know we've seen a lot recently pushed into the tobacco trail. We're not necessarily thinking about resort tourism. There's still a lot of tourism destinations in our viewing area in the PD and Southeast North Carolina. What are some of the other, when we think about resort tourism, what are we focused on exactly?
Well, we chose to name our program at Coastal Resort Tourism Management primarily because it is about learning how to manage businesses in a resort destination area.
Okay.
In resort areas, hospitality and tourism businesses, and really all service-related businesses, are dealt a pretty tough hand. Businesses that operate in a destination area like the Grand Strand are faced with dramatic changes in demand for their services across the seasons.
Right.
And so there are marketing challenges primarily involved with smoothing out that seasonality, and there are operational challenges involved with staffing a business, going from, say, 10 or 20% capacity to 80 or 90% capacity overnight, as we do in the spring of the year.
Right.
And even you had mentioned this particular time period, the last 2 weeks of, well, the last 3 weeks of July, first week of August. These are absolutely the peak weeks of the year here, and while we're busy, really from across the 12 to 14 weeks of summer.
Right.
These 4 particular weeks are at maximum demand.
Right. 98, 99% occupancy.
Right.
Sure.
Right. Probably 94, 95% average for the week. So there really aren't any unemployed, trained people walking the streets that you could go out and put an ad in the paper and say, I need someone to come fill in the blank for me for these 4 weeks.
Right.
The trained, qualified staff have largely been taken by this time. And so, but even more challenging, I think, are the spring and the fall weeks, where sometimes we can go from 20 or 30% to 60 to 80% for just a couple of days, and then back down to 30%. Very, very challenging.
Those are serious staffing issues when you think about, I mean, surely a lot of managers think, well, I'll fill in the gaps, but they're only 1 or 2 persons.
But how? That's
sure,
right.
How can they do it?
Yeah. I was telling, we have a couple of dozen German students visiting us through one of our programs, our affiliates in Germany right now, and I had a seminar with them a couple of days ago, and I was explaining to them that really we have right now about 1 person in our labor force for every basically 5+ people on the street or in businesses. So basically my message was, be kind to our hospitality workers, our service personnel out there this time of year, because there really is only 1 of them for every 5 of you needing your rooms cleaned, your meal prepared, your shoes purchased, whatever it might be out in the marketplace here at the moment.
And some of the things that may not even be necessarily related to the hospitality industry year-round are related in the summertime, just because there are a flood of people going into places they may not go.
Of course.
Because it is the summertime and places are packed.
Right.
Well, that's fascinating. You know, when we think about, of course, the tourism economy study, you mentioned the program in Germany. I think you all have one in Barcelona, Spain as well. You've got some great areas that you all have teamed up with. What were some of the original ideas behind that? What prompted those mergers, and how has that helped the students there, as well as we want to get into a little information. I think the state legislature has opened the door for you all to do some exciting things going forward. But how about the partnerships in Germany and in Spain?
Well, we have, of course, the goal with those is to increase the diversity of the student population at the university. The university, I think, has a broad goal of doing that. So these programs were really part of that initiative.
Mm-hmm.
We have developed a dual degree program with the Autonomous University of Barcelona and with the University of Applied Sciences in Bad Honnef, which is just outside of Bonn, Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Students from Coastal can go and spend about a year in those institutions studying and working in internships.
Right.
And when they complete both the requirements at the foreign institution and come back home and complete their requirements at Coastal, they can finish with 2 degrees, basically 2 undergraduate degrees, a degree from Coastal Carolina University and a dual degree from either the Autonomous University of Barcelona or the College of Applied Sciences in Bad Honnef. there are some challenging components to that.
Right, sure.
Especially for American students, getting to at least an intermediate level in either German or Spanish.
Right.
And we have good programs in German and Spanish, but they're not at Coastal. They're not necessarily business students.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes a student that is willing to complete both
determined.
of the challenging requirements for business and for the foreign language,
Right.
in order to study abroad and work abroad.
Yeah, critical. I mean, same thing, I guess, for those students coming over here, albeit many of them are learning English much more often than the folks here would necessarily be advanced in German or Spanish, I suppose. The other big component, I think, that South Carolina legislature has recently approved for you all to expand your program. Is that correct? Or maybe Coastal Carolina opened the door?
Well, we have there's been a push on our part for the last year or so to expand the concentration of courses, which we call resort tourism management and international tourism management, to a separate major. So just recently, the South Carolina Commission on Higher Education approved the new major in resort tourism management that actually begins this month.
Okay,
and we will still offer a concentration in international tourism management as a component of that resort tourism management program. So we're real happy about that. We have about 200 students right now in that program. It will probably increase probably 50% in size in the next couple of years.
That is tremendous, Dr. Damonte. You must be thrilled about that.
Yeah, we are. And we do have a couple of new faculty members coming on in the fall. So there are some good things happening with the resort tourism management.
Now, how would this differ from, let's say, the program that you were graduated from there at the University of New Orleans there in hotel, what was it?
Hotel, restaurant, and tourism.
Right.
I would say that, as many of the hospitality and tourism programs are more technical, hotel specifically to the hotel industry or the restaurant industry. As I mentioned before, we're really trying to, well, we have developed a curriculum that we think is applicable for students that may be managing a hotel or restaurant, but also maybe managing any of the other service sector businesses that are operating alongside of the hotel and restaurant industry in this tourism destination. It could be retail, recreation,
Golf course?
Yes. So we do have a separate PGM program. Those students are also allowed to major in resort tourism management and take a concentration in PGM.
That's professional golf course management.
That's right.
That's tremendous. And you all recently partnered up with the Horry Georgetown Tech, I think, and taken over a golf course or leasing out a golf course, or they got involved in some of their groundskeeping management.
Well, yes. I think we use some of Horry Georgetown Tech's coursework curriculum for that program, just as we do for the resort tourism management program. We have good partnership with Horry Georgetown Tech. They deliver a food and beverage seminar, for one thing.
Great.
Which they are very qualified to do. They have certified chefs that teach in their culinary program and hospitality program, and they have good facilities for doing that right across the street from us.
That sure helps.
No reason to try to replicate that.
Yeah, sure. I know Kate Ferreira was with us last year this time, though I don't believe it's still at...
Yes, I think she's gone back into industry, and from what I understand, it's a nice place too.
It sounds like it.
I understand she's going to Little Cayman.
I think I heard the same thing. Now, do you ever get that bug, Dr. Damonte, about getting back in, a little something there that encouraged you to get back out in the field?
You know, from time to time, I think we all do. But what we have, or at least what I have at Coastal Carolina University, is a great opportunity for me to, as I said before, to sort of take a bird's eye view of the industry. And again, when you're managing a single property, you just don't have the time to do that. Although you'd like to and really need to, it's difficult to find the time to look beyond your business to what is going on out in the larger tourism phenomenon
Sure.
that might be impacting.
And you particularly don't have the time when you're at the time where you need the most to focus on what you're doing right, what you may be doing wrong. I mean, when it's so crazy in the summertime is when you really need to take some critical analysis.
That's right.
And of course, you're able to do that, as you say, with the bird's eye view and probably provide some great statistics and good empirical data for them to take advantage of.
We think so, and we try.
That's great. I'm sorry we've run out of time. We can't talk about the Pulse of the Strand that you and Gary Loftus do for the Myrtle Beach Area Business Journal.
Well, that's just another outlet, really, for the tourism economy study. And, of course, it's published in the
We love it.
Myrtle Beach Business Journal, Myrtle Beach Herald Business Journal.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Damonte, for being with us this morning. Stay right here.
Nice talking to you.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Dr. Taylor Damonte coming up next. He wants to hear from you. 843-349-2698. If you currently operate in a lodging establishment in the area and want to be involved in these studies, Dr. Damonte wants to hear from you. 843-349-2698. In the next couple of weeks, if you operate a golf course or a restaurant or an entertainment opportunity here in the area, he wants to hear from you. They want to get good critical data. This, as he talked about, that bird's eye view, looking in from the outside, but also knowing you've got someone with practical experience who's been on the inside, who knows what it's like, was there for 10 years after graduating there at the University of New Orleans, and then going back for more graduate degrees, the opportunity to be here in our home area, to be able to reach out and make a difference in our community. You can check out his column, Pulse of the Strand, that he writes with Gary Loftus, online at thelocalbusinessjournal.com, Pulse of the Strand, or of course you can give him a call at 843-349-2698.